Well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn about Quickhelp and hopefully gather some insights on how it can maybe help you individually as well as others in your organization. I'm Jake Molko. I've been with P&L Technology for a little over 6 years now, I guess. It's been a while. I'm the Director of Solutions Engineering here, and looking at the participant list, I recognize a lot of names here, so thank you again for joining us. So the purpose of today's webinar is to talk about the Quickhelp Learning Platform and specifically how it can help you drive some more usage specifically out of the Office 365 suite of products, but it can also be used for other things too, and we'll talk about that. And I would guess that most of the people on the call today are users of at least some of the products available within Office 365, of which there are quite a few, as you probably know. But I would guess that most of everyone's email is probably hosted out on Office 365. I know everybody probably uses Microsoft Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Some of you maybe have adopted or are interested in Skype for Business, SharePoint Online, and OneDrive. And so Quickhelp has content addressed towards each of those areas, and we'll demonstrate that. So today we're going to talk about maybe some of the traditional methods of training your workforce on how to use some of the software that you've purchased and implemented, and talk about some of the traditional challenges with those methods of training, and then talk about how Quickhelp can maybe address some of that. And then I'm also going to be doing a live demo and sharing my screen so you have an exact idea of what Quickhelp looks like from an end user perspective to give you an idea of what it can do. So aware that most of us are using Office 365 products, I would guess you're probably also aware that there's features that maybe you're not currently using or not even aware of. It's kind of the 80-20 rule. I would say that even I personally probably only use 10 to 20% of the features available in the programs that I use every day. And maybe if I spend a little time educating myself about the software that I use, I could drive a lot more efficiency out of my workday. And so I hope the same is true for all of us here. So I'm excited to talk about Quickhelp and show how it can immediately benefit your workplace. But before we talk specifically about Quickhelp, let's talk about some of the traditional methods of training. And this is just kind of what I've seen based on my experience and working with some of our customers. So a lot of times there's the option to bring in a professional trainer. There's some challenges with this method, I think. The first being that it can be really expensive, especially if you're paying to fly this person in, put them up in a hotel maybe, room and board. It can get pretty pricey pretty quickly. Some other challenges with that particular method is that trainer can really only train as quickly as what I would call the least advanced person in the room, or the person that knows the least about the training topic. So because of that, the value for maybe some of the more advanced users or power users is diminished because of that. I think retention of the knowledge that's disseminated during these kinds of sessions can also be an issue. After a number of days or weeks, how much of that content that was presented is actually going to be retained by you and the other people sitting through that training? I would guess that number is probably pretty low. And then there's also the issue of attendance. If you choose to bring a trainer in on a specific day, there's always going to be things that come up where people have to be out of the office, either due to business obligations or PTO or sickness or what have you. And so essentially there's training dollars that are wasted by not having those people able to attend. The other option that I've seen our customers explore is they actually send people to training. This is only marginally less expensive than bringing in a trainer, if at all. And again, this is still kind of a less customized option for training. you're still having that content presented to a large group of people, and so it has to be pretty broad in nature because of that. And I think you still have the retention issue. That content gets presented once. There's not necessarily a way to easily reference it, and so I think a lot of it gets lost, especially if you don't use some of that knowledge right away, even though you might want to at a later point in time. And the third option I've seen some of our customers try is to encourage self-help, kind of help yourself learn how to use some of the software that's installed. The problem with that is that a lot of people don't know what they don't know. They simply don't even know where to start. This particular method can also be pretty inefficient without some really consistent guidance from the training administrator in your organization. And the other thing I don't necessarily like about this method is that it's reactive. People will only seek out something if they're having a specific problem or a specific challenge, and so it doesn't necessarily promote discovery of new things in an organic way. And so often these three options have not worked for our customers or have not had the impact that they thought it would. So a lot of times they've turned to us and asked us to see what we can do in providing them training. And so what we've traditionally done in the past is we've offered a little bit of on-site training. This wasn't an inexpensive option because, as I said, it involves sending a trainer out for at least a half a day, depending on the content that's being presented. And again, you can only train as fast as the least advanced or experienced person in the room. And so again, that value is diminished for the more advanced users. And then there's the same retention issue that we've talked about. We've also done webinars similar to this where we talk about specific products. We've done one on OneNote, Outlook, Word, Excel. I think we've done a lot of those. And we've gotten good feedback on those, and we're going to keep doing those. But again, those are very broad in nature, and they have to be. They're also pretty infrequent. We maybe do those a few times a quarter. And so that still leaves our customers wanting more in terms of training. And so several months ago, we were approached by some of the people we'd partnered with for our users conference, if any of you have attended those in the past. And the company that we worked with is called Brainstorm. And they provided, if you went to the users conference, those quick cards. So for instance, at the end of the Outlook session, there was a trifold pamphlet that contained just a plethora of tips and tricks about Outlook on it. And those were immensely popular, and we thought those provided a lot of value. But they called us one day and said, "Have you heard about Quickhelp?" And I'd never heard about this, and so they gave me their spiel. And I was just immediately intrigued and saw some immediate value for how this could address a lot of the training gaps that we just talked about. And so without further ado, that's kind of what I'm here to show you today. So the Quickhelp Learning Platform, what is it? At its core, it's a cloud-based training solution that's accessible from anywhere, anytime, as long as you have an internet connection. And it has content for users, as we said, who are very beginners, all the way to more advanced power users of the specific software. And so the main feature of it is that it's this online repository of short, sometimes less than 1 minute, to no more than 4-minute videos that are short, concise, to the point, and immediately relevant, I think, to the software that we're using. The second component that a subscription to Quickhelp includes is access to periodic live instruction and webinars with Microsoft certified trainers and the opportunity to ask live questions and answers. So two very complementary, very valuable pieces and methods of training within this single solution. So without further ado, I want to do a demo of the product and show you exactly what it would look like if you were a subscriber of this service. So I'm going to share my screen. And give it a couple of seconds to appear. And while that's popping up, the first thing I'll say is that although Quickhelp does require a username and password to get logged in, all you have to remember is the web URL to get to Quickhelp. and your Office 365 credentials, because we can actually plug it into Office 365 so that you don't have another set of usernames and passwords to remember. So I think that can be pretty valuable. That's the last thing anybody wants, is another set of credentials. So when I first get logged in, and by the way, this is our internal Quickhelp platform that we use here at P&L Technology. So this is my landing screen when I get logged in. So the first thing that I'll draw your attention to is right in the middle of the screen here, where it says highlighted playlists, or actually my assigned playlist. And so what is showing up here is this playlist entitled Skype for Business as Your Phone. And so I'll give you a little bit of background as to why that's appearing on my page. A few months ago, we converted our old analog phone system, got rid of it, and started using Skype for Business as our phone system. And so that was a pretty big deal for us, because a lot of the, well, all of the business we do every day depends, we heavily depend on our phones. And so in order for us to do that conversion, it needed to be very seamless. And one of the things we realized is that it would behoove us to make sure that all of our people knew how to use Skype as their phone system before we just cut them over and turn them loose on it. And so our training administrator here internally went into Quickhelp, curated a playlist of short videos that show us how to use Skype as our phones, and then assigned it to the whole company. And so when that happened, I got an email notification saying I have a new assigned playlist. It's Skype, how to use Skype for Business as your phone. It says right here that I have 13 days left to complete this assignment. And you can see right below there that it is 78% complete. So I've watched a little over 3/4 of the required videos that I need to look at. So I'm going to click this button, click the play button. And that immediately takes me to the next unwatched video in this playlist. So the ones that I've watched, you can see have check marks in them. And the ones I haven't watched yet have these play icons. And so it's immediately going to start playing the content for me. And so this one, this particular video is entitled How to Add a Phone Number to My Contact Card, so that people can see me in Skype and know how to call me. It's a 44-second video. After that, I'm going to learn about how to switch my audio devices if I want to switch from my headset to my webcam or my speakers or that sort of thing. Things that I need to understand how to do if I'm going to use Skype as my phone system. So this was all, as I said, assigned by our training administrator. And our training administrator, through an admin portal, has the ability to go in and see who has completed the training, how far along they are, which can help us ensure that people are completing their required training in the time that we set out for that. So in addition to just viewing my assigned playlists, I as a user can just go into this platform and start exploring. So I'm going to show you what's kind of all available here. I'm going to click All Content and then Explore All Content. And you can see that there is a huge variety of topics and content available to me as a user. So I'm going to click into Excel 2016. I have Excel 2016 on my computer. I use it occasionally for my job. And there's 136 videos dedicated just to Excel 2016. So I'm going to click in there. And when I do that, you can see that it's further organized into what Quickhelp calls topics. And so we have navigating Excel, managing data, and gathering insights. And in all reality, this is kind of a beginner, intermediate, and advanced sort of separation of topics. So let's pretend I've never used Excel before. I'm going to go into navigating Excel. I'm going to scroll down here for a minute. And you can see that one of the videos available to me is entitled Using Copy and Paste. So a very basic function, but if you have some people in your organization who have never used Excel before, this might be a good place to have them start. A more advanced user can go back, maybe click into this Gathering Insights topic. And we have Using Solver, which is a more advanced feature that actually I've never really even used before, and so I'm sure I could learn something by watching that 90-second video. I'll go down here and there's all sorts of videos, especially around using PowerView, which I think was formerly called pivot tables, if anyone's ever used that before. There's videos on how to record a macro, understanding histograms, waterfall charts. And so what I'm trying to convey is that there's beginner content, there's stuff for intermediate users, and there's stuff for really power users of Excel. And not just Excel, but all of the other content that's available in here. So I'm going to go back to that content list just to give you an idea of what's all out there. So we have SharePoint Online. We've got OneNote 2016. If you're not on 2016 yet, there's OneNote 2013. There's Windows 10, which if you buy a new computer these days, it's probably going to have Windows 10 on it, and that could be a significantly different experience if you're used to Windows 7 or Windows 8. So this could be a nice tool to use if you're replacing anybody's computer. We can assign them a Windows 10 playlist to get them off and running. The other thing that I can do as a user is go into the search bar and just, let's say I know what I'm trying to learn and I want to get to it quickly. So I'm going to type in PowerView for Excel. So I'm going to click Enter. And I can see here there's working with PowerView, PowerView slicers, all sorts of stuff here, actually 5 pages worth of videos. The nice thing is I can filter that here on the left side, as you can see, by the exact version of Excel that I'm using. So I'm using Excel 2016, and that takes my 5 pages of results down to 2. And so I can immediately get started viewing this content. I also want to draw your attention. You may have seen this share button right here. Let's say I come across this video that's hugely valuable to me, and oh, by the way, I know that Scott was looking for something like this too, and that he would find a lot of value in this. So I'm able to share this video with Scott and draw his attention to it simply by typing in his name. He'll show up, and I can say, hope you'll enjoy this video, and click share. And at that point, Scott's going to get an email notification saying that I've shared that particular video with him. So I think that's another upside to Quickhelp, is that it can be really a collaborative kind of training experience across your organization, which I think is a lot more powerful than just having people sit in a room and listen to a trainer for 4 hours. So I see a lot of value in that particular feature. So I mentioned Quickhelp is kind of 2 parts. One is the online video repository, which we've explored here. And then the second part is the live events, the live webinars. And so if you'll see up at the top right, there's this calendar icon that I have. I'm going to click that. And that takes me to this upcoming events page. And these happen all throughout the year on a variety of different topics. And so if I scroll down here, here's an event called Navigating Windows 10. And if I click into there, I can see that there's one as soon as today, actually, happening. Well, that happened. It's actually running right now. And all the way as far out as the middle of May. And they try to do these over the lunch hour, so it's convenient for people to join these. They're never going to be more than about a half an hour. They're very concise and to the point. And so as soon as I wanted to register for one of these, it would allow me to add it to my Outlook calendar so I can be reminded of it as it approaches. And then the really nice thing is after the event is concluded, it will email me a playlist of videos that relate directly to that particular topic, in this case Windows 10. And during the event, much like the webinar that we're doing right now, I would have the opportunity to submit questions and get live answers from the instructor during that time. So the last thing I want to show you, I mentioned that as a training administrator, if any of you on the call might be assuming that role or are in that role currently, I want to show you what that looks like, because I mentioned you can kind of track usage and viewership across the platform. So I'm going to click into my admin portal. It'll take just a minute to kind of switch over. And here's my admin screen. And so I can see that I have a total of 46 users on my Quickhelp platform. I've had over 1,100 views across this particular snapshot over the last 30 days is the snapshot that I'm looking at. And I can see what the top searches are, what people are searching for, and I can see the top users. I can see here that Victoria here has been consuming a lot of Quickhelp content as of late. I also know that I've assigned some playlists, and so I want to track the usage on those. So I assign this WebRoot training playlist to our users. And these are the groups I assigned it to. I assigned it to our implementation team, our service desk, and our shared services team. And I can see that the shared services of the 3 of those groups is doing the best, and they're 66% complete. And I can further drill down in there and see that Darren and Shannon have all completed their training, and Eric still has some work to do. So that gives me a lot of insight as an administrator to make sure that people are using the platform as it's intended and drive viewership that way. So that concludes kind of the live demo portion. So let's review again some of the challenges that we highlighted with previous training methods. One of the challenges we identified is that traditionally we can only train as fast as the least experienced person in the room. How does Quickhelp address that? Well, as we said, Quickhelp has a broad range of content that's immediately relevant no matter where you are. So it meets you where you're at, whether you're a beginner or a power user, with some content that you can consume right away and that will apply to you. The other thing is that since it's self-paced, users don't have to wait for a trainer to catch up to their level of knowledge during an on-site or remote training session. They can consume content at a pace that's comfortable to them. We also talked about the issue of retention. If you bring in a trainer, what's the likelihood that you're going to remember everything that was presented 4 weeks from now, especially if you haven't used that content right away? Well, the beauty of Quickhelp is that users at any time can refer back to the content that they viewed to reinforce the new knowledge that they gained. And what about customization? We mentioned that webinars and on-site trainings or remote trainings have to be very broad in nature because they're being presented to a large audience. Well, Quickhelp can be a little more customized because we have the ability to curate playlists of content that are specifically relevant to our organization and the software that we use. With the new platform and revision of Quickhelp that's coming out, it's actually going to give your users what's called an intake survey. So the first time they log in, they're going to tell Quickhelp what software they use and how they use it and where they use it from. And Quickhelp's going to automatically create a playlist of relevant content customized specifically to that user and what they use. And then the third thing is that users have access to, as we talked about, live certified trainers and questions and answer sessions. And so if they have specific things that they want to figure out that maybe they haven't found in the videos that they've watched, they would have the opportunity to ask a certified instructor about that. The fourth challenge that we talked about with traditional training methods was that it can be kind of reactive, especially in the self-help arena if you're encouraging users to go that route. The problem there was that users maybe only seek out training for specific things once they need it. And so Quickhelp promotes discovery of related content across the platform because as soon as I've viewed a video, it's going to inform me of content that might be related or relevant to the video that I just watched. And so it it definitely promotes kind of some discovery of new features that otherwise users may not have sought out or found on their own. It also solves the attendance issue. If you bring in a trainer, there's always the risk that somebody's not going to show up. And that just simply doesn't apply with Quickhelp because they can log in at any time. It doesn't matter what day it is. And the last thing I'll say is that Quickhelp, I think, addresses the cost issue of training and bringing in trainers or sending people to training. Quickhelp is available to users at a very attractive price point of $2.95 per user per month. And that's tied and based on the number of Office 365 subscriptions that you have in your environment. So if you have, let's say, 10 users in your office with Office 365 subscriptions, your Quickhelp cost would be just under $30 a month, which I think is a very affordable and attractive price point considering all the content and training features that are available. So the last thing I'll mention before I open it up to questions is that, as I said, Quickhelp is launching a brand new revision of their platform. So it's going to be a new and improved version of what we even demonstrated to you today with some even more advanced features. And that's all kind of included as part of that subscription. It doesn't cost any extra to move to that new platform. And as new content is made available, it's automatically available to you as part of that subscription. So we've got about 3 minutes left. I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. And if you have any questions, please do chat them in. We've got some time to answer those. If not, I'll let you know you can reach out to me directly. My email address is jmolko@pltechnology.com. And so if you have some specific questions or just want some more information about this, please send me an email. I'd be happy to talk with you about this. I do have a question. Can we get a copy of the presentation? Will the presentation be viewable at a later time? So yes, we are recording this, and in a couple days we are going to upload this to our YouTube channel. And so if you go to YouTube and just type in P&L Technology, you should be able to find our channel, and it's going to be available there. I think we're also going to send out an email notification about it as well. So you definitely will be able to access this at a later time. So I don't see any more questions right now. So if there isn't anything else, I'll hang on for another couple minutes. But other than that, I'll let you get back to your day. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope this was helpful. And as I said, please feel free to call me directly or email me if you have any questions about this. I'd love to chat with you about it. So there's a question here. Does Quickhelp have a free or discounted subscription for nonprofits? And unfortunately, not at this time. But I have a close relationship with our account managers, and if that ever becomes an offering, we would certainly let you know about that. There's a question about how to log on at the very beginning. So if you subscribe to Quickhelp, we would help you get it set up, and you're going to have your own custom Quickhelp URL. So ours is quickhelp.com/pltechnology. And when I type that in, I'll be presented with a login page where I have to enter in a username and password. And so what I'll do there is I'll enter in my Office 365 username, which is simply my email address. And then I'll enter in my Office 365 password. And at that point, it'll log me into Quickhelp, and it'll land on that page that we started at the very beginning. Okay, well, I'm showing 10:30. Again, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you so much for being with us today. This will be available as a recording later on, and please do get in touch with us if you have any further questions about this. So thanks a lot, and have a great rest of your day. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you. Please stand by.